Hello, I'm David Neese, the Vice President of Engineering with Grady-White Boats, and today I want to talk to you about the 192 Freedom. The 192 Freedom is the smallest in Grady-White's Freedom series of boats. Now the name Freedom indicates that you have the freedom with your boat to do anything that you'd like to do. If you want to use your boat and be on the water cruising, if you want to be on the water fishing, if you want to be on the water going to the restaurants and visiting friends, you can certainly do that. But if you prefer to be in the water swimming, or in the water skiing, or in the water snorkeling and diving, the Freedom series of boats can certainly do that well. There's an incredible amount of things you can do with these boats and do them all well. Before I start talking to you about the features of the boat as we walk through it, though, I want to talk to you a little bit about the specifications of the Freedom 192 and a little bit about safety. The 192 is 19 feet 2 inches long. It's got an 8-foot beam, so it's plenty wide to do a lot of different things on and be comfortable doing them. It carries 60 gallons of fuel and is paired with a 150 horsepower Yamaha 4-stroke motor. That engine with this amount of fuel, the boat has a top end speed of almost 45 miles an hour. It has a range of, or a fuel economy of, nearly 4.5 miles per gallon. And folks, let me tell you, with 60 gallons of fuel and this pairing a motor, you can have an awful lot of fun between fill-ups at the gas pump. Now let's talk about safety some. On all Grady-Whites, not just the Freedom series, but all Grady-Whites are unsinkable. The Freedom 192 meets the Coast Guard requirement for level flotation, so it's going to be safe in all conditions, no matter what you're faced with on your particular day in the water. From a flotation standpoint, this is a very, very safe boat. That feature of basic float or level flotation built into the boat, paired with another safety feature which all Grady-Whites have, which is self-bailing, make this boat incredibly safe. When I say self-bailing, what I'm telling you is all the water that gets into your cockpit, all the water that gets into any of the coolers and boxes on your boat will drain overboard without the use of a pump. So with no macerator pump on board, you have the convenience of the drainage, because gravity will drain the water out, and you don't have to worry about all the maintenance that's implied in having a pump on board that could fail and various other things that come from that. Additional safety feature, you'll notice there are handrails throughout any Grady-White. Notice across the back of the cockpit and at the helm, you'll see handrails periodically, so you're always having a good place to hold on to. We have a non-skid, built-in non-skid on the floor for sure footing. And we have tow rails. By tow rail, I mean there's a place to lock your foot into the side of the boat as you're reaching over to gaff a fish, or as you're reaching over to help a skier in and out of the boat or change equipment. Now that we've gotten some basics out of the way, let's talk about the features in the cockpit area of the Freedom 192. The first thing you'll notice is the cleats are near the stern, but up on top where they're easily accessible. And remember, I talked about tow rails before. As you're hooking up to a cleat and tying off, you can easily tie yourself into the tow rail so that you're safe in the boat as you're going through those maneuvers. As you go back to the stern, notice a swim platform, easy access in and out of the water. Notice there's a swim platform on either side, so you can have someone over here coming in the boat with the ladder, someone over here going out. So as you're making that transition of skiers or tubers into the water, it becomes very easy to do. Notice that a couple of interesting things happen here. We have a ski pylon that is removable. It's optional. It's good for skiing and tubing and that kind of thing. So it makes a wonderful ski boat. But it is also an outstanding fish boat. If you'll notice, there's 4 rod holders mounted in the gunnel for trolling for fish. There's rod storage below the gunnel on either side for storing your rods when they're not in use. So you're skiing and in and out of the water. You're skiing with the ski pole. You've got fish storage, fish rod storage. You've got rod storage below the gunnels. So you're ready to go for really anything that you want to do here. Notice the seating. There's plenty of seating aft for cruising. There's seating here if you would like to sit facing aft watching skiers. Notice the cup holders where you're sitting, so there's always a way to sort of refresh yourself, however you want to do that as you're spending your day on the water. Notice the cutting board built in. If you're making sandwiches or cutting bait, whichever your choice is, you can do either on the cutting board. And when you're done, or if you just want to shower, there's fresh water in the cockpit as well. Now, if you're the captain of this 19 Freedom, then you want to make sure that you're taking your crew wherever you take them in comfort and in safety. And on this boat, like on every Grady-White boat, you're riding on a CV2 hull bottom. CV2 stands for continuously variable V. And simply stated, that means the dead rises in the aft portion of the boat are flatter and the dead rises in the forward portion of the boat are sharper, meaning you get a stable ride with the flatter aft dead rises and a very smooth, wave-piercing ride with the sharper dead rises forward. So you will be going safely and you will be going for sure in comfort. As you start the boat and leave the dock, you'll recognize that you have flush-mounted electronics in front of you. Your sight lines over the bow are terrific. You have a compass right in your sight line, so just one look down and you can see your heading or read it on your electronics. The ergonomics of your throttle to your right hand are very simple. Switches are easy to reach. And one thing you'll notice is the horn switch is red for easy identification. And always on every Grady-White, the wiper switch will be directly beside the horn and they'll be at the end of a row of switches. So they're easy to find without having to look. Gauges are easy to see. Hydraulic steering here, plenty of room for your legs. Notice how the dash overhangs the bulkhead forward of it, so there's plenty of room for your feet. Over on the port side for the passenger, again, good sight lines, comfortable seating. Notice the stereo is right here for the passenger to use. This particular Kenwood stereo opens so that you can put your iPod, iPhone, or any other MP3 player inside hooked up for a charge, and so you can play your favorite tunes. Again, cup holders close by, a DC outlet for charging, storage for personal effects, and as I pointed out earlier, a handrail within easy reach, pretty much everywhere you go on this boat. Before we leave the helm and the cockpit of the Freedom 192, I want to point out that the seat that I was sitting in a while ago is convertible to a lounge. So you can lay out and sunbathe or however you want to do that, and very quickly it will convert back to a seat so you can have a mate facing forward to help the driver and a passenger facing aft. Additionally, in place of the PED seat for the driver, you could get a second lounge seat as an optional part, so you can have 4 seating here, 2 forward and 2 aft. One of the defining features of the Freedom Series boats is the windshield. Notice that the windshield center panel is closed now, so if we're seated back here, all the occupants of the cockpit and the helm are protected from the wind on a nasty day, or just if you wanted a break from the wind when you're underway. But if you want the freedom to go forward, you open it up, and you can pass through and use the whole front end of the boat along with the whole length of the Freedom Series boat. And that's one of the beautiful things about this style of boat. Now going forward, notice I've talked about handrails in the past. Handrails kind of frame the bow out so it's safe. Notice the seating in the bow. Now I should say that below the seating, there's storage under this cushion. There's insulated overboard draining. Remember I talked about self-bailing before. There's self-bailing insulated storage below this cushion here. Now if I come back to this area, there's also storage inside the console forward of the helm. It is lockable, so you can lock your belongings in there. Also storage forward of the passenger seat under this console. So you have the whole bow area is full of seating and storage, both dry storage, lockable storage, and insulated storage. If you move forward, notice the speakers forward. There's also 2 speakers aft. I did not point that out earlier. So the whole boat gets full sound when the stereo is playing and you're listening to those tunes. Notice the accessibility to the cleats. And then on all Grady's, the anchors are stored below decks in a locker so that the chain and rod store away. The boat is kept neat. Everything is safe, but that very important piece of equipment is easily accessible. Again, the cleats are here for tying off. International lighting with switch at the helm so you can travel at night and at dusk safely to and from your destination. Before we wrap up this discussion on the Freedom 192, it's important for me to tell you that Grady-White has 6 models of the Freedom Series from 19 to 30 feet, all packed with fun things to do in or on the water, whatever you choose. Now remember on the 192, we talked about a lot of different things here. We talked about safety, meaning basic or level flotation on this boat, handrails throughout the boat, self-bailing, non-skid for sure stepping. We talked about easy access in and out of the water with the swim platforms, one on each side of the boat. Plenty of seating throughout the boat. Great sight lines. CV2 hull for comfort in riding. We talked about seating forward and the protection behind the windshield. Storage throughout the boat. Lockable storage, dry storage, insulated storage. So everywhere you go in the boat, there's a place to put your belongings and put them safely. We talked about how many different ways there are to use a boat with ski pylons and rod holders and rod storage. All in all, you add these features up, again, a lot of fun to have on the water on the Freedom series of boats.